And apparently for £47.50 you can actually spend a night in one of these cells. Huh. Well, who wouldn't?
So our route had taken us from the south coast of Devon to the north coast and the Blue Ball Inn. The Blue Ball Inn is a traditional coaching inn dating back in parts to the 13th century. It's got low ceilings, blackened beams, stone fireplaces. It's set 900 feet above sea level, right on the edge of the moor. It's situated in an area of outstanding natural beauty and is only a mile and a half from Lynmouth. It's really popular with walkers and it's very dog friendly too.
So, this is our room. King size bed. The room isn't massive, but again it's a very old coaching inn. Close the curtains because it's really hot outside. And we've got a wet room instead of a tub, but that's fine. All very clean, functional, in fact spotless. Just like
Although we didn't have the luxury of a sea view from the inn, we discovered that just a short walk across the road and through the local church took us to the southwest coastal path. And a stunning viewpoint.
Cheers everybody. Here we are, a pint of Exmoor Gold at the Blue Ball Inn on the north coast of Devon, and it's a beautiful sunny day. Fantastic. Cheers.
Cheers.
What was it? The roll's hot and the butter's soft. That's what perfect soup's about.
As a coaching inn in the late 18th century, it was called the Blue Ball Inn because a blue ball would be attached to a pole located at the front of the inn and raised to indicate that residents of the inn required passage on the coach, so the coach would know when to stop. So, how would we rate the Blue Ball Inn?
The location of the hotel was fantastic, and it would have been a 5 had it had a sea view. The room was adequate, it was a bit small, all these old places are, and it didn't have a view, but it was perfectly adequate. The food and drink was good and reasonably priced, and the service was excellent. They really went out of their way to launder my riding trousers and didn't charge for it. So overall, a really good 4 out of 5 for the Blue Ball Inn.
So the next day we set off for Shepton Mallet along the fabulous A371, probably one of the best roads in North Devon, including the famously steep Porlock Hill. Our route would then skirt around Bridgewater before our first stop in Cheddar Gorge. We came through Cheddar Gorge on the way out, but we didn't get time to stop and take a look around. So our plan was to stop, grab a coffee and take a closer look before heading off to our final destination of Shepton Mallet. I read about the A371 in Simon Weir's brilliant book Bikers Britain, which, by the way, if you haven't got it, I would highly recommend. It's got lots of great ideas for tours, and he also highlights some of the best biking roads in Britain. On his tour of the Southwest, he says, "Is the A371 the best road in the Southwest? We wouldn't bet against it. We love it from the tight hairpins of Porlock Hill to the sweeping open turns of Exmoor." So that was Simon Weir's opinion, and quite frankly, who are we to disagree with him? It was a cracking road, especially with brilliant weather. So this was the famous Porlock Hill, folks, and as always the GoPro gives you no idea just how steep this hill was. Parking is always problematical in Cheddar Village itself. But if you hunt around, usually, especially with bikes, you can usually find somewhere you can just sneak it in. How about in here? If you like cheddar cheese, this is the only place to come. The only cheddar actually made in cheddar. And of course, while you're buying your cheese, you might as well get your Christmas presents as well. So we had a quick coffee, a wander round, and now it's time to head off to the gorge itself. Well, hopefully we could pull in and maybe see if we can get the drone up, although it was looking very blustery. We thought it might be worth a try. Oh dear, schoolboy error. I think you'd fail your test for that, wouldn't you? Right, let's find a convenient place to stop. Yeah, this'll do. A Triumph Herald, my very first car. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's get back to flying the drone. So here we are, folks, on a very blustery day, Cheddar Gorge. It's a lovely day, but very windy. Just tried the drone for a while, but it was getting too dangerous, so I brought it down. So, the delightful Cheddar Gorge.
While we were in Cheddar Gorge, we met 2 of our subscribers.
So you're going to be on the channel then?
We're going to subscribe Midlife Motorcycle Diaries on YouTube.
That's the one, yeah.
You're going to be on the channel now.
Yeah, you'll be famous.
How you found it,
Afi and Mane.
Really brilliant to meet you guys.
Thank you. Take care, yeah, bye.
Yeah, you
See
take
you.
care.
Lovely to meet you, Happy and Manny.
And so we arrived in the little town of Shepton Mallet. Why Shepton Mallet, I hear you say? Well, one, it's the closest town to the Glastonbury Festival, although we won't go into that. It's also noted for its cider production, and quite frankly I don't drink cider, but it's also the home of England's oldest prison, Shepton Mallet Prison, which is over 400 years old, and also the most haunted prison in the country. But none of those interesting facts were the reason that we ended up in Shepton Mallet. But right now, let's find our B&B. I know it's up here somewhere off the beaten track, I think. Just looking at this B&B on booking.com, I was hoping that I'd uncovered a hidden gem. Fingers crossed. Well, that was easy.
So folks, we've arrived in Shepton Mallet and we booked into a lovely little B&B called Mapleston Hall, which is essentially 3 Reeves cottages knocked together. Anyway, let's come inside and let's have a look at it. Right, room 2. Oh, this is a really nice room. What do you think?
It's lovely. Really lovely. It's a really quirky place and it's got a real history to it.
A real character.
It's lovely. And the hosts are just fantastic.
The hosts are Richard and Michael, and we'll meet them later.
Brilliant.
We've just basically moved in and already we're making it look a bit of a mess. You don't get great views because of where we're situated, but it's a lovely big bed. Lovely, clean, new, modern bathroom area. Shower. So that's it. Tonight we hit the town of Shepton Mallet.
The local pub closed down, unfortunately, because of drugs and prostitution. I mean, the drugs is fine because everyone in Somerset's stoned anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So a witch lived here.
Yeah. We've got the shoe. I'll show you tomorrow morning. Because if you bury shoes, the witches can't come and get you.
Right.
And the witch that lived here, she was pushed out of the house. But there's a baby shoe we found as well, which was Edwardian, which is a bit of a sad story. The baby died in here because of starvation. The whole of this area is all spooky. It's all ghost.
So,
spooky.
do you have a resident ghost?
Yes, a whole family.
Oh, that's just great. Just my luck to choose a haunted B&B. So love this.
Right.
They're
so tell
in
us
more
about
our
that.
end of the fence. Husband and wife.
We're up there.
Huh? No, not here. No, because this is the oldest part of the house. Now these 2 cottages here.
And have you seen anything?
I've sensed them, and I was not into that at all.
No. Well, I grew up with I think everybody's grandmother talked to dead people because my grandmother was a medium.
I told you she'd love it.
So it doesn't surprise me one bit.
So if there's anything around, you'll
I'll pick it up.
Be my guest.
So we had these guests in the end room, and in the morning they came down and said, "Who were in the room above us last night?" Because they were tramping around, and we were going to come down and complain. And Richard said, "Oh no, you're on the top floor." And the wife dropped her fork, and he went awfully pale. And then the next night, people in your room came down and said, "Were you playing with candles last night?" Because you know when you snuff a wick, and you get that really strong candle smell. He said the smell was so strong it woke my wife and I up. And we said, no, all the candles in there are actually they're wax, but they're battery powered.
Yes.
So no, it wasn't us. So
basically, we've got a ghost in our bedroom.
Excellent.
you might have or loitering around.
Excellent. Every old house, every decent old house has a ghost. Isn't it?
prison.
Goes round further.
So is it a National Trust thing now?
No, it's private now.
Did you say it was the most haunted prison?
And the oldest in England, yeah.
The oldest prison and the most haunted prison?
Yeah. It only closed, I think, in the 80s, late 80s. So, and the craze.
This was the pub we're going to go to. But unfortunately, it's been closed down due to prostitution and drug taking. A shame. Oh, well, there you go. So, here we are, folks, pre-dinner drinks in this delightful little garden at the Maplestone Hole B&B, ex-Weavers' Cottages, full of ghosts. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, tonight, it's Thursday night. If it's Thursday night, it must be Greek night. So, Shepton Mallet on a Thursday night, and this is where we're going for dinner. Let's check out Rosemary. Cheers, everybody. Greek night.
Greek night.
Czechoslovakia. There we have it. Czechoslovakia.
Vodka penne.
Vodka penny and salmon. Washed down with a good glug of house white wine. Here's to Greek dining, folks. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well, that, folks, was the Rosemary Greek restaurant, and it was. What do you think?
I thought it was lovely. People were really lovely. Food was
Brilliant,
good.
brilliant.
Reasonable price.
Really enjoyed it.
Really lovely.
Feeling very mellow now as we wander back to our B&B.
Right, this is the shoe that you bury in houses to keep the witches away.
To keep the witches away, okay.
So that's been buried in the house.
Any shoe. So whoever was resident would have buried that.
Just a shoe. You know, I mean, you used to have when people got married, they have cans on the back of the car.
Yeah.
They also put shoes, and that used to keep the witches away from the bride and groom. The sad one was the baby shoe.
Oh,
wow.
look.
Now that's turn of the century. Now if you see, as you come in the gate, there's a plaque on the side of our thing saying as a soldier who was in the First World War was living here, and he went out really near the end of it.
Named, was it Blacker?
Yeah, Blacker.
Died at 22.
Died at 22. Days later came, banged on our door and said, I hope you don't mind, but we've come to find out if you found a shoe. I said, I think you better come in.
Wow.
She'd gone white by that time. She was quite. And she said, well, it was my husband, great grand cousin or uncle, was that guy. And it was his mother that, this is the baby's shoe that was buried.
So the baby died?
The baby died. And the police came and picked her up, took her to Wells and said, right, you're up there, you're up for murder, basically.
For the baby?
For the baby.
So, our last day of our mini trip around the West Country, and we're in Shepton Mallet, and today we're heading off to Castle Coombe via Wells. Look at the cathedral. But first of all, we've come to check out Shepton Mallet Prison. Why? Because it's here. So we've just left our bikes at our B&B last night, which is the Maplestone Hole, before we do our prison visit. But while waiting to get in, what do we think about B&B last night? What do you reckon?
I thought it was absolutely fantastic. You couldn't fault the host. Michael and Richard are brilliant. The place is beautiful, beautifully furbished. It's got great history to it as well. But the place was comfortable. It was a good night's sleep. There was plenty of space in the room. Got a real atmosphere. Fantastic breakfast.
Yeah.
So hospitable. Couldn't enthuse about it more. And would really recommend it. If you're on bikes, be aware there's gravel, but it wasn't a problem. We managed to park fine, and there is actually some grassy spaces outside you could park on there as well. We enjoyed a really lovely drink in the garden in the evening. We've been blessed with the weather again. 2 minutes walk to the town centre.
Not a massive town centre, to be honest, but if you want a base to explore, this area, Cheddar, Wookey Hall, Wells, etc., then the Maplestone Hall B&B would be well worth staying at. So, from MMD, highly recommended.
Brilliant. Morning. Hi.
Come on in.
I bet you don't have many people waiting to get into prison, do you?
We do actually.
Shepton Mallet Prison was opened in 1625 and was the UK's oldest prison and most haunted until it closed in 2013. It's a bit eerie, this, wandering round big old empty 400-year-old prison when there's only 2 of us. Let's go and see where the Crays spent their time. Exercise yard. It featured recently on TV for the serialisation of the story of mass murderer Dennis Nielsen, starring David Tennant. This is a double cell. You and a mate. We've got a prison all to ourselves. How weird is this? We won't want to be here, that's for sure. And apparently for £47.50 you can actually spend a night in one of these cells. Well, who wouldn't? Yes, apparently the Cray twins, Ronnie and Reggie, were incarcerated here in 1953. The Cray twins were Britain's most notorious gangsters in the 50s and 60s. For dodging national service, I believe. And interestingly, this is where they bumped into Charlie Richardson. And this is where the condemned man spent his last night before execution. Apparently, against the wall there was a bookshelf, which hid the fact that the other side of the bookshelf was the actual room he was going to be executed in. And this is where he would stand before the long drop. Or actually, quite a short drop really, but it did the job. And sleeping right next door, this is where the executioner would stay. So when Albert Pierpoint was on duty, he would stay here the night before and of course always sleep with a noose by his bed, just in case of emergencies. So this is B Wing, the largest wing in Shepton Mallet Prison. At its peak I think it held 94 prisoners. And pretty miserable it looks too. So that was Shepton Mallet Prison. Fascinating and pretty depressing in equal measure, but nonetheless really well worth a visit. But now it was time to get back on the road. So the first stop was Wells, just a short 15-minute ride away before heading to our final destination of Castle Coombe. Well, we picked Shepton Mallet just because it was a convenient place to stay, but it turned out to be a really fascinating place, with the ghost stories, the amazing B&B and of course the prison. We wanted to visit Wells because it was fairly close by, has an amazing cathedral, and is of course known as England's smallest city. It's only got 12,000 inhabitants, and it can call itself a city because of the famous cathedral, which dates back to the 13th century. So when you arrive in a new place, where's the best place to park? Obviously right in the centre if you can. So I noticed this beautiful cobbled market square and headed straight for it. But it seemed to be surrounded by no parking signs. So what do? Well, you park of course, and then send Sue to find a local friendly policeman to check whether it was okay. Well, here we are folks, in the beautiful little cathedral town of Wells. Actually, well technically, it's a city, apparently, because it's got a cathedral. But enough about that. Before we go and grab a coffee, let's go and check out that cathedral. And a beautiful day to see it. And here it is. Wells Cathedral was built between 1175 and 1490 and has been described as the most poetic of the English cathedrals. Beautiful big cathedral. Well, what a beautiful cathedral and a beautiful place Wells is. That's another for the list of places to come back and explore in more depth. But right now, we're heading off to Castle Coombe, our final stop of the day. We wanted to visit Castle Coombe ever since we saw a picture of it on the internet. It's regularly voted on the lists of UK's prettiest villages. When you arrive there, you get the feeling that it's almost been frozen in time. No new house has been built in this tiny little village since the 1600s, and the village itself dates back to the 15th century. You can see why Hollywood producers were attracted to Castle Coombe, because they filmed lots of Agatha Christie there. They filmed The Wolfman, Dr. Dolittle, Warhorse, Stardust, Robin Hood and countless others. To such an extent, the villagers got so fed up with it, they banned any more films being made there. And as you can see, we picked the perfect weather to enjoy what's been voted one of the prettiest villages in the UK. So here we are, we've arrived at our accommodation for the night, the Castle Inn pub. The next question is, where do we park? As it was, as you'd expect, there are strict parking restrictions in Castle Coombe. In fact, there's only one main public car park, which happily took us past the beautiful 5-star Manor Hotel. When Hollywood came to town, I'm pretty sure this is where they would stay. I bet this is where Spielberg had a suite when they were filming Warhorse. So folks, our final day on our road trip brings us to the beautiful village of Castle Coombe, and we are staying in the Castle Inn. So before we look at the village, let's go and check out the rooms, see what it's like. The Castle Inn dates back to medieval times and started life as a resting place for monks making the pilgrimage from Malmesbury to Glastonbury. If you're in that room, be very careful. You're okay for a short arse like me. But anyway, room 6. Like, isn't it? It's a great room.
It's really lovely. Yeah.
For a very, very old inn. I think it's 12th century. I'm not sure. Look at a lovely big bed. Customary squeaky floorboards, which is great. A view outside the window. I'm going to go out to a minute and find and check it all out. And what about the bathrooms? Well, it's actually got a tub. First time on the trip, so we can rest our weary bones and muscles. Look at that. Excellent. So, thumbs up for the room. Now we're going to check out the village and later on the beer and food.
The village looks amazing.
Yeah, you can see why this has been used for lots of films, and especially in this weather, because it's absolutely stunning.
And these were the beautiful grounds of the 5-star Manor House Hotel. Lots of people use this for photo shoots, just like this bloke here with the, looks like an Aston Martin, I think. The parish church of St Andrew dates back to the 12th century, and inside it is one of the oldest clocks in England, built in 1380 by a local blacksmith and still going strong 600 years later. So the question is, what connects Castle Coombe, Dr. Dolittle, the SAS and Britain's greatest living explorer, Sir Ranulph Fiennes? The director of Dr. Dolittle wanted to build a 20-foot concrete dam to create the effect of a small harbour in the village of Castle Coombe, to turn this into this. A friend of Ranulph Fiennes was incensed by the idea, and knowing Fiennes had just spent some time in the SAS and knew how to handle explosives, he recruited him, and the plan was to blow up the dam the night before filming started. Sadly, all the perpetrators were apprehended beforehand, and Fiennes spent some time in Chippenham prison and was on probation for a year with Salisbury police. So, there you have it. You can't blame Hollywood for trying, but you can understand how fed up the local villagers must have been. So, how would we rate the Castle Inn?
The Castle Inn was actually a great place to stay, but what was really great was the location.
Well, that was Castle Coombe, folks, and the end of our Devon and Dorset tour. What a fantastic place to end our trip. We hope you've enjoyed riding along with us, and if you have, please give us a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. So until next time, ride safe.